You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
And on today's Total Wellness Tuesday show, episode number 508 of the Cabral Concept, we're going to get into the certain symptoms that you may be feeling that you're not relating right now to gut-based issues. And that's a real problem. And the problem is this. The reason we are hearing so much about gut health from naturopathic doctors, functional medicine doctors, integrative doctors, the media, it was even just in the Wall Street Journal. The reason why it's becoming so mainstream is that we now know that most dis-ease in the body, that means diagnosed diseases, as well as these terrible symptoms that we're feeling where we don't have a disease, but we just don't feel well, are related to gut health. And why would that be? You know, like, why is everything coming back to the gut? The reason is this. Your gut, which I'm going to explain in a moment what exactly that is, controls or is surrounded by 80% of your immune system. So when you think of it, when we think of autoimmune disease, or we think of all these different diseases, or we think about inflammation, well, the easiest place for things to go wrong is your gut. And that's because it's essentially 28 feet or so, give or take a couple feet, depending on the size of the person and all that, 28 feet of intestinal tract. And if you were to take out all your intestines and you were to flatten them out, and I mentioned this on just a couple weeks ago on the show, it would cover an entire tennis court. Think of that. Like, think of how large that is. That's just inside your stomach. That is your gut. So let's talk about what your gut is, and I'm going to get into the symptoms of whether or not you may have leaky gut. So essentially how it works, we eat food, it moves down our esophagus, it goes into our stomach. 20 minutes later, fruit, sugars, things like that move out pretty quick if that's a mono-based meal. Starches, about an hour or so, 40 minutes to an hour or so. After that, proteins, veggies, a couple hours, right? Salads, maybe even a little bit longer, the raw leafy greens. And then it moves into the first part of our intestines, right? So it moves through our stomach, the gastric part of the stomach, through the gastric valve, and then it empties into something called the duodenal bulb. And the duodenal bulb is simply the first part of your small intestine. And the first part of your small intestine is called the duodenum. So your small intestine has 3 different parts, just like your colon has 3 different parts, which we'll talk about in a moment. So that first part of the duodenum, it's only about 10 to 15 inches long, the whole duodenum. That's the first part. Again, it's just one long tube. Your small intestine's about 20 feet, 23 feet long. Right around there. Again, it depends on the size of the person, but right around 20 feet. Okay, so the duodenum's just that first foot. We'll call it a foot. That is where a lot of the absorption's taking place, a lot of the breaking down. So the food became really acid coming through the stomach, the bile's hitting the acidic-based food, and then that bolus right there is all the fats are being broken up. So now your body can start to absorb some of these smaller food-based particles, whether it's sugars, fats, or amino acids from the proteins, right? So that's the first part of that small intestine. Then it moves toward something called the jejunum. And the jejunum, which is a really fun word to say, just like duodenum is, the jejunum is about 2.5 meters long. So that's about 8 feet or so, right? Somewhere around there. And that's going to then work on a lot of the absorption as well. So it's a little bit more alkaline. Different foods are going to be absorbed as well through the small intestine. And then we get to the last part of the small intestine, which is called the ileum. And in the ileum, same thing. We're working on absorption. But right from there, then the ileum is moving through what's called the ileocecal valve that I just mentioned on the Cabral house calls to answer someone's question over the weekend of why they get recurring small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or candida overgrowth, those types of things. So then it moves into what's called the cecum. That's the first part of the large intestine. And that's the ascending colon. And then we have the transverse colon, which goes across right above the belly button. And then downhill, that's the descending colon. So and then essentially stool will come out of your anus, and that's your digestive tract. But around that digestive tract, we have our IgG immune cells, we have our IgE, we have B cells, we have T cells. So what we're looking for, though, what your body's looking at, is anything foreign. Think of it this way. Our skin is the outside of our body, and it protects us from the outside environment, but so are your intestines. That tube that runs 28 feet or so through your body, that's meant to be the outside of your body. It's not meant to allow foreign particles in. Only the good stuff is supposed to get in, okay? The proteins, the carbs, and the fats. Like, that's what's meant to get in. They're byproducts of that. Not the bacteria, not the yeast, not parasites, none of the other things that are meant to get through there. And also not larger amino acid strands, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. And that's where these diseases are coming from. So, again, why is this so important? Because just like if you have a cut on your skin, think of that almost like a leaky gut. You have a cut on your skin, now you have leaky skin. Why do we cover those cuts with Band-Aids? It's to prevent the outside influences such as bacteria, such as things, to get a direct line into our bloodstream, right? Well, guess what's right outside of your intestines? Your bloodstream. Your lymph and your bloodstream, right there. So if you have leaky gut, now what is leaky gut? Leaky gut is increased intestinal permeability gaps. That means, so you have these little villi inside your intestines. It literally looks like a shag carpet under a microscope. And I've had the pleasure of actually getting to see the villi under a microscope. And then there's the microvilli and the enterocytes on top. And these even smaller little villi, think of it like that, like little finger-like structures. And that's what allowing for the breaking down, same with the bacteria, the good bacteria in our gut, and the absorption through the wall, the lamina propria of our gut. So now all the good stuff gets in, the valine, the leucine, the isoleucine, all the different amino acids and the sugars that we need. Our body needs sugar as well. Like, don't fall for all the hype right now that your body's not supposed to have any carbs. It is. Sugar is one of our 3 fuel sources. We're not supposed to just live off one fuel source. That's a survival-based thing. I'm not going to get into it today. That's not a healthy way to live. We just have to find out how much works for us. And I'm not saying eat sugar. What I'm saying is, eat carbohydrates. All carbohydrates break down to sugar. It doesn't matter if it's the greatest, best slice of broccoli in the world. It breaks down to sugar because carbohydrates break down to sugar, just like proteins break down to amino acids. So what happens, though, with this gut wall is because of alcohol, because of stress, because of poor food combining, because of birth control, because of medications, because of food-based sensitivities, inflammation, these gaps start to widen. And when they widen, it allows for then more immune cells to come in to the gut wall, creating inflammation, and more larger food particles to come out. And that's what leaky gut is. So leaky gut is the allowing of bacteria. It's the allowing of parasites, food particles, longer strands of protein. That's the big one, longer strands of protein to enter our bloodstream. So now your body's not seeing the amino acids from chicken or fish or whatever it is. It's seeing like little pieces of chicken, like larger amino acid strands. And your body goes haywire saying like, what is this foreign protein doing in our body? And our immune system then, rightly so, it is not messing up. It is going after that protein. It's going after that animal, whatever it might be. And so then it also creates inflammation in the intestines. Is there anything wrong with this? Has your body messed up? No, it has not messed up. What's wrong is there is an actual dysfunction at the gut wall level. You're actually leaking environmental proteins from the foods that you eat into your gut. Ayurvedic medicine knew this before anyone else. They're the original. They're 6,000 years ago, 6,000 years of recorded Ayurvedic history, going back to most likely 10,000 years. They called it ama. Ama is the root cause of all illness, they said. Ama, which means toxicity, we have to get rid of. But not only that, meaning there is bacteria in our gut. There's the lactobacilli, there's the bifidobacterium, there's all the good bacteria that we're supposed to have in our gut. But the problem is, it's not supposed to leak out. The yeast that we have in our gut, supposed to be there, not supposed to leak out. When it leaks out, again, it's in the bloodstream. Now we have what's called dirty blood. That's what I refer to it as, toxic blood. And your liver now has to filter this, which is why we're always recommending liver detoxes, not just for leaky gut, but for all the environmental toxicities that's getting in. Your kidneys, the kidneys then have to filter it. So listen, this is more important than anything else. If you don't fix your gut health, you can't fix anything else. You work on everything else after you get your gut health in proper order. If not, every time you eat, you're literally spilling proteins and other objects, bacteria, whatever it might be, into your bloodstream. And then your bloodstream causes an immune-based cascade. That's going to make you... So now let's get into what are some of those symptoms. Well, think about this. You are going to feel bloated in your gut, in your intestines. You're going to feel more gas. You're going to have more food sensitivities show up on a food sensitivity test. So if you do our blood spot test, which is a simple at-home test to test your food sensitivities, which you absolutely should do, it's an IgG-based reaction, meaning like if you eat these foods, it causes inflammation. It can cause fatigue, right? If your immune system's always on, you're going to feel tired. You're going to have joint pain, a lot of rheumatoid arthritis. Like if you think of rheumatoid arthritis, absolutely connected. 90+% of autoimmune diseases, 90+%, scientifically proven, clinically proven to be involved or as a consequence of leaky gut. Yes, there can be heavy metals. Yes, there can be other things. But we say, oh, the immune system's gone wrong. No, the immune system didn't go wrong at no point. Yes, now it's overactive. I understand that. It is overactive. It should not be functioning like that. But why did it go overactive? So when I'm talking with I've had the pleasure of speaking with a lot of great doctors this weekend. A lot of them come from a conventional medicine standpoint, which is totally fine. So we have great conversations. And we're talking about autoimmune, and they're saying, oh, no, well, it's molecular mimicry, it's this, it's that. And I say, yes, it is molecular mimicry. I understand that. It's going after this particular type of bacteria, whatever it might be. But why? My job is to always ask why. I say, let's peel back the onion one more layer back. Why? Why is it reacting to those proteins? Why is it going after these particular cells? Why is that happening? Why is the immune system overreactive? Because we're spilling proteins and bacteria from the gut into the bloodstream. And this is, again, scientifically proven. Is it completely, meaning like, does every doctor agree on this, that that's the cause for autoimmune? No, they do not. And I don't say it's the only reason, but what we can't disagree on, what we can't say isn't true, is that this is not a 90+% cases of all autoimmune, because that is true, right? So let's say you have headaches, dull headaches. Or you have skin issues, acne, like forehead acne, back acne, neck acne, or rosacea. Perfect example. Yeast, candida spilling into the bloodstream, bacteria spilling into the bloodstream, digestive-based issues in general, like slower digestion, constipation. What about weight gain, unexplained weight gain, or water retention, cellulite, right? What about inflammation in general, arterial-based inflammation? How about frequent colds? Well, your immune system's always on. It's always fighting all the bacteria coming to the bloodstream. Right? Depression, anxiety, OCD, ADHD, ADD. These are, again, organic acid tests. So it's, if you think that you might have a leaky gut or you might have some of these symptoms, run an organic acid test. It's a simple urine-based test. Literally, this is what you do. You wake up one morning. It has to be done on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, any one of those mornings. You literally wake up in the morning and you urinate into a little cup. That's it. And it's 30 mLs, which means it's 6 teaspoons. It's a tiny amount of urine. That's it. You urinate in the cup. You close up the cup. You label it with your name. And then you put it in a FedEx bag and you ship it to the lab. That's it. Like, that's all you have to do. And it tells you, do you have bacteria spilling into your blood? Literally. Do you have candida yeast overgrowth spilling into your blood? What are your detox levels like? What are your mitochondria like? I mean, what are your B vitamins like? What are your vitamin C? It's an amazing test. It really is. So you can have your functional medicine doctor run it. It's called an organic acids test. Or you can simply go to our website, which is stephencabral.com/store, click on wellness, and then click on organic acid test. It's very simple. And you get the results back. You know if you have this, or this. And then, so what I'm going to do is a series of gut-based protocols over the next couple Total Wellness Tuesdays. So I'm going to go how to correct all of these things. And again, I want you to know, obviously up front, I know I always say this, and I know it probably gets annoying. My job is to give you the information. You never have to go through our online store. You have to go through our practice. You can use anyone in the world that you want, right? Because I talk with people in Singapore. I'm talking with people right now in Australia. I'm talking with people all over the world. All I want to do is help you become aware of it. Because if you have the acne, the rosacea, the eczema, the psoriasis, if you have the autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, Graves', if you have constipation, diarrhea, IBD in general, right? Irritable bowel syndrome or IBD. Well, like, what does that even mean? It just means your bowels are irritable. Why? Because you probably have an inflammatory bowel issue stemming from some type of leaky gut or gut dysbiosis, right? If you have the headaches, if you have the joint pain, I can't recommend it enough is to look for these specific symptoms. And what I'm going to do, again, let's say you can't afford the organic acid test or it isn't just right for you. That's okay. You could do a food sensitivity test as well just to see if some of these foods are creating more and more inflammation. What I'm going to do on future shows, and they're going to be coming up. We'll do a series. I just thought about this right now, so I'm going to make sure that I do this for you. On our Total Wellness Tuesdays coming up, I'm going to teach you step by step how to remove, because first we have to remove the foods that we're sensitive to. We need to remove the excess bacteria. We need to remove the yeast and candida if that's what's going on, this gut dysbiosis. I'm going to teach you that. I'm going to teach you the foods, and then I'm going to teach you how to repair that gut wall. And that means you do not start with probiotics right away, and that's what I'm going to teach people as well, because I teach this again, like all over the country, and I'm going to teach it to you as well. I'm going to teach you exactly what works in our practice. So thank you for tuning in today. Remember, if you have some of these symptoms, you have the fatigue, the headaches, the joint pain, the bloating, the gas, the skin issues, the autoimmune-based diseases, you really look at it from a deep underlying root cause level, and nothing is deeper than looking at your gut health. Thank you, everyone, for once again tuning into the Cabral Concept. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.